I'm Alex Vaughan, Team Water Dragon. I was on a 14-foot downwind Riviera by 26. Brought the wrong board for the wrong day. It was a 70-mile resistance training, so it was a good workout. What I take away from all of this was community, and people were just so open and ready to help anybody out. Like with Rob, Alan also helped me navigate through the night. He reached me at Blake Island, and we started taking off Blake Island. And we're in the middle of the night, and I remember he and I sitting at the bar before this race started. And I knew he had a couple beers and whatnot, and I was like, oh shit, you know? How are you feeling, Alan, you know? He'd prone, he'd stop for a little bit. He's like, are you tired? And so every now and then I'd be way ahead of him. I'd be like, Alan! And I'd hear, yo! So I'm sure the people at Bainbridge really hate us because it's like 2 in the morning and we're just passing houses. I'm just like, oh! And I hear, yo! But he told me, he was like, Alex, we gotta make it to this red buoy. And I was like, okay, you know, that's cool, that's fine. He's like, yeah, because the ferry's coming, you know? And when he was telling this story, I thought he was just talking hypothetically. Okay, we'll make it to the red buoy, we'll stay on the right-hand side, no problem. And he's gunning it. And I'm just like, la-li-da, you know, whatever. And he's like, no. And then once we passed the red buoy, he's like, man, we just barely made it. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I looked to my left, and the ferry just turned. Red buoy going into Bainbridge. And I was like, awesome, ferry waves. And I half an hour later, Alan! But yeah, a lot of life lessons learned. I didn't do it in the time that I wanted to do it, so there's always next year. So a lot of lessons learned, and I'm grateful for the community. So that's what I took from this. Is yeah, it's awesome. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Oh, team name was General Jetstream. My name is Shane Donogh. But let's see, for me, this race.
What was your vessel?
Oh, vessel? I had a 14-foot stand-up paddleboard. It was an SIC Bullet. Yeah, I borrowed it from Ryan Peters, so thanks, Ryan. Like a week before the race, so that was a nice one.
How wide was it?
27 inch
27
wide. Yeah, but anyways, for me, the big takeaway was I don't paddle the Sound hardly at all. I'm mainly on the rivers, and but I'm super confident on the rivers, and I paddle them all year round. So I heard about this race, and I was like, well, I'm already planning to paddle all through winter, so this was even more of like a motivation to just do that. And so I paddle up the river a lot, up class 1 rivers and down, you know, up to class 3, and stuck with that. And but I never made it out to the Puget Sound. I was always like, all right, I'm going to take like a weekend and go paddle this part of the course, you know, familiarize myself. Never happened. And then I was paddling with Rob actually up in Deception Pass in May, end of May, and we were talking about the race, and Rob made the remark that you know, Puget Sound is basically like a huge class 1 river. The way the currents work, you know, it's the same. It's just on a bigger scale. And so it was exciting for me to actually get out there in the Sound and, you know, had that north wind just pounding the whole time. But I had a plan, and you know, I stuck to it, and that it just worked out. So my goal was to do it under 20 hours, and I got 18 hours. And yeah, it was cool. But also, I didn't plan to paddle with anybody, which I was, at the start, honestly, I was a little bit bummed, because I was like, oh, there goes so-and-so, there goes so-and-so. Whatever. But it kind of worked out, because I'm pretty good at paddling solo. So, also, I'd done this distance on a river, downriver, for that many miles, you know, multiple times. So from Fall City down, yeah, and on Skagit and Snohomish. But I'd never done it on the Sound. It's totally different, but not totally. Like I say, it's like Class 1 River, and I was able to read. It was just like you know, the Class 1 River, or like a little creek you look at. It's the same thing. you know, you drop a pebble in and it changes the current. Same way, just blow it up like you're at a drone, you know, looking down on the Puget Sound, and you're able to kind of figure out, okay, I need to be in the center here and need to be, you know, behind this island here. It's just on a bigger scale, so it's pretty cool. But I will say I really enjoy rivers more because psychologically, when you got to cross from point no point all the way to that channel, it's so far, and you never get there. You just paddle. It's like you look down and you look up. You're like, oh, it's still the same. Whereas on a river, it's like, okay, in, you know, quarter mile, I'm going to take a bend, and I don't know. My brain doesn't know what's around that bend, so you go around. You're a little more interested. It's just like you look up. It's like, yeah, it's still.
I put on a lot of races, and they're usually 2 to 6 miles long, so that's what we're used to. One kind of fun thing is we used to think that a 6-mile race was a long race, and guys training before, like Alex was out doing 45-mile days, and, you know, Dan's little trip up to Mukilteo there.
I'm in Denver.
Ever. No. But that expanded our mind of what we can now. I mean, I've always done touring, kayaking, and stuff over the years, but that expanded our mind to 6 miles is nothing. Let's just go do 20 or something. You know?
Probably my highlight of the whole race, working the finish line for 30 hours, was when Team Last American Man came in. And that was the guy in the 15.5-foot Grumman canoe named Sally. So this guy pulls in, and his tracker hadn't been working since north of Mats. So we think about it, and we see his canoe just zigzagging to the finish line. And the guy pulls in, and he is beat. And I look at him in his canoe, and there is not a piece of high-tech gear within 2 miles of this guy. He doesn't have a dry bag. He has a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket with stuff stuffed in it to keep stuff dry. He's got a half rack of Rolling Rock, like half drank, and like just like the case is just kind of spilling just loose beers into the bilge. He has pants that look like they just came straight from an army surplus shop, but they're wool, so okay, they're kind of appropriate. And then he has poncho that he hung up because the fringes of it was wet, and like he gets to the dock, he hangs up and thing. The poncho is a moving blanket with a slit cut in the middle of it. He pulls in, and I'm like, dude, man. He's like, he pulls in, and he almost falls off the middle. Like, dude, can I get you somewhere, something warm? Is there anything I can do for you? He's like, no. I gotta call my wife and tell her to bring me dry clothes. And like, I'm just like trying to pile on the guy. Like, is there anything we can do for us? He's like just trying to push the help away. He's like, so like finally he gets up into the the shack we had there at the end of the pier, and like he's just like tired. Like, no, here's a couch. No, do you want my blankets I had from us? He's like, no, man, we're okay. So like, I leave the blankets. It's like, finally the guy's like starting to like realize, okay, it's over. They're here to help me and all. And he's like. And like I've got the sock monkey George I sail with, and he was on the couch there. And I look over and he's laying there, and he's hugging this like 4-foot tall sock monkey on the couch. And he's like, "Well, I didn't want to like Shanghai someone's monkey, but damn, this monkey's cuddly."
I'm Nate Rooks. I was Team No Dream. I was a solo. Ow, I don't know. Ruining my night vision. Finally honed. Yeah, I was a solo rower in a 20-foot plywood. We're calling it a wherry. It's actually the lines are taken off a Norwegian fairing.
Say plywood like it's a bad thing.
I do not say plywood like it's a bad thing. So my boat was a kit. It's the first kit of this boat by Clint Chase from Maine, and I built it this spring. As soon as 7048 was announced, I had talked to Clint about like, someday I want to build one of your boats. I don't know how. I always had wanted to build a boat. I guess preface is that I did Race to Alaska with my brother in 2016. Same thing everybody's saying. The community was like, holy moly, how do you make lifelong friends that quick? And just lots and lots of them. And so I wanted more of that. And the first question I got after this race and the first question I got after Race to Alaska is, are you going to do it again? Both times I'm like, I don't know. It would have to be a different program, but this was like a totally different program. Wasn't going to take a year of planning, although throwing the building a boat thing in kind of changed that a little bit. I told Clint November, whatever, 11th or 14th when they announced it. I told him like that a day or two later that I wanted to build one of his boats and that I wanted to do it sliding seat. And he said, okay, I have a 20-foot one I want to get shaped up in the designs and then you can build it. And then he was like, but you better get building like before Christmas. I picked up the kit in Port Townsend on Valentine's Day with this guy. So I was like immediately 2.5 months late. Also trying to train and build my first boat. Anyways, it happened. I did train. I trained pretty hard for 6 months. I trained really hard for 4 months. I used to be a competitive rower and a rowing coach, so like rowing's deep in my blood. I had done many 2,000 meter pieces, and I thought I had figured out like the best ways to hurt in rowing, and I found out I had not. This was like 2 extra levels of hell down from, I mean, a 2,000 meter race makes your body like just throw itself up, but this made things feel like they were gonna just fall off. I didn't think I would need to stop because Race to Alaska showed me that I probably didn't need to do that. I grew up on Bainbridge Island, so like halfway point was my hometown, which was really cool. And the race was awesome. It went better than I expected. I went out way harder than I planned. I averaged 5 knots for the first 4 hours, which was like a knot faster than my plan. But then the night kind of sucked, so then I just kind of was like, just be putting the oars in the water. I had a rowing coach who always said, you never want to be on the bad side of a photo finish. Coming through PT Canal, there were like kayaks and sups chasing me, and I had one kayak who I think ended up finishing a few minutes behind me, 10 maybe. But I thought he was going to come get me, and I just kept being like, don't do this to me right now. The last 10 miles was the most I've ever hurt in an athletic endeavor. But it was awesome. I loved it. I loved the people again. It was so much fun to have it be like a multifaceted project. And I knew it from the beginning, and the thing that I loved the most was seeing so many damn small craft on Puget Sound.
Yeah.
Seeing their lights, seeing them during the evening, seeing them in the morning, seeing them on the land before and after, all of that. The fact that it was 125 and it will probably be double that or more next year. But the people that were there and the range of things that it could be and the support for the people who got in 47 hours or whatever Tim got in 43 hours, that's incredible.
45 was the last finish.
45 was the last
Three-way
finish.
tie for 99.
And so seriously, we have over 100 winners because people were able to not finish and still feel like they totally won. And that's what I think is different about Race to Alaska and different about this race is that spirit and the support. And it's something that I like totally feed on. So I'm so glad to be here tonight because when it was over last week and I left Port Townsend on Thursday, I just drove out to the beach and just like stared at the water and looked at the R2AK tracker for a while because I was totally hungover from how awesome it was. So I've just been wanting to be around you people and people who are excited about it who even didn't do it because getting to be up in Port Townsend or anywhere where that kind of catches fire is like a whole new heaven for me. So, that was, I think, my 7048.
Vessel.
My name's
Team
Ted
name.
Sweeney. My vessel was a Hobie Oasis Tandem, which is a pedal, Mirage Drive pedal craft.
Okay.
And,
Rotomold, for sure.
And Bill made me buy the Amas. He wouldn't go without the Amas. So we had Amas.
It's all about the Amos, baby.
You gotta have the Amas. Yeah, he said, you know, there just might be a wave in the middle of the night that we just don't see. So we
Not wrong.
It wasn't wrong. It turned out that the wave was actually me trying to turn around and get into some bag and just whoa, and then we were really glad we had the Amas. So they definitely worked out well. Look,
What's your team name and what's the
the team name is Team Excellent Adventure because he's Bill and I'm Ted. That
Story adventurers.
That was our Race to Alaska team name in 2015 when nobody ever done the race before, and my coworker at UW said, "Oh, my dad's thinking of doing this," and I wanted to sail about 6 months before, and I thought I'm perfect for this race. I should definitely race Alaska. And I sent him some long persuasive email, and he ended up taking me on, and that's the relationships that are formed when you have adventures like that. It's a real test, right? And so you can make it through something like that, and and you feel that mutual support, and you've been in those sort of maybe arguably slightly death-defying scenarios, and it goes okay. It's like that's the guy that you want, you know. And originally I heard about 7048. It's like this is great. A lot of what people said, like this is Race to Alaska with way less prep and way less work, and like I can just go do it. That's the wrong attitude. That's the wrong attitude. But I was gonna do it on my kayak, and then I got to thinking like, damn, that's gonna be lonely. What can I do to get the team back together, get Bill out there? What am I going to do? And now Bill, Bill's 69 years old. He doesn't paddle. He's too smart for that. And so what do I have to do to get Bill Gifford in a boat with me? And so I came up with this unsinkable Hobie, and found one on Craigslist and convinced him to do it, which was really great. But, with Race to Alaska and with this, the history of people in small craft on the waters in this part of the world is rich, right? And it goes way back, right? And there's a lot in that experience of covering the ground yourself with your own power, or with the wind power in the case of R2AK, but doing it in that way where you have total vulnerability. And it's powerful, and I think that we've heard in the stories here that people experienced that vulnerability, right? This was a real challenge, right? It wasn't just like, oh, this was R2AK easier. No, this was a real challenge, and we all faced it in the way that made sense to us, with differing results and with all kinds of different experiences. But I think so many of us, and ultimately in a historical context, we all live here because of the water. Like whether that's your reason or whether it was your parents or grandparents' reason for living here, explicitly, it is the implicit reason, is the water. And so to continue to have these experiences, to continue to put yourself out there and to engage with that, I think there's a romance and a power and importance to that without experiencing that, I don't think we can really understand the place where we live. And so 7048 opens the doors to that for so many, and so I hope it just continues to grow.
Yeah.